There is a lot happening at Pune in Volkswagen's Chakan plant because there have been some significant announcements coming from the car maker with context to its business here in India. We are now joined by Michael Meyer, who is the director for Volkswagen Passenger Cars here in the country. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having us, and it's good to be here at the plant location as well. To begin with, the announcements that you have made today, of course, are significant from the point of view of the company, but also from the perspective of the industry itself. For some time now, we've been waiting for that big announcement from Volkswagen. What sort of position do you think these decisions will put you in?
I think for us it's not a big announcement in itself. It's part of a strategy, and India is on the priority list for Volkswagen, and it needs, for us as a strong brand, as we consider us, it needs a strong product portfolio. So this is a first step to bring that into place, and it will just be one milestone on our road into India that we are going to go.
It's been a tough market. The last few months have been tough for the entire industry. A few players, of course, have had better success than others, but there has been so much wait and watch for the last few months where we keep saying, all right, you know, at this point the market will turn. We haven't quite seen that happen yet. So is there a significant sort of milestone that you await for that to happen?
For us, the market has gone luckily into the right direction. We've seen our own business picking up in the country in the last 6 to 9 months substantially, turning around, and on the other hand side, the market itself is on a good road with the interest, fuel prices, and the customer mood going into the right direction. So for us, that is a sidelining factor that helps us to put this strategy now into place in terms of new products.
Now the announcements, let's sort of go through them, because what you're trying to do is, of course, address different parts of the market. The first significant car, of course, is right behind you there, which is the new Vento. This particular segment for you, I mean, there have been a lot, there's been a lot that you've done with the Vento in terms of different variants, different kinds of product positionings, and even different kinds of purchase packages for the consumer. Is that something that will also continue?
The Vento is obviously one of our core products, and the Volkswagen, being the most accessible German premium car maker in India, has its stronghold with the Vento, but the Indian customer is also a demanding person that always requests change and always requests updation. And this we have, I think, now more understood, that we added the DSG automatic gearbox last September to the car already with some changes. Now we're going to change the car completely. This, I think, is just our tribute to the Indian market.
When you talk about that demanding customer, they also seek value, of course, and that's at different segments. The value is something that the customer will always look for. But you've clearly now talked about your intent to go after the sub 4 meter space. Again, there's been speculation around that for a long time, that Volkswagen is developing something, there is going to be something happening there. The question that I have to ask you is that, aren't you worried about moving too late into that space?
The sub 4 meter sedan is actually quite a new segment. If you look at most of the competitors, they only come in the last 18 months. So for us it was clear, this is a package that Indian customers do value, and we need a Volkswagen in that. On the other hand side, if you want to bring across all the elements that characterize a Volkswagen, drivability, safety and build quality, you need to stretch yourself a little bit. We've stretched, and soon we will come.
The reason I ask that is because there's also, perhaps still too soon from a numbers point of view for me to make this point, but there seems to be a little trend that could start to grow, where a lot of people are now appreciating the value of a premium hatchback versus a sub 4 meter sedan, because sometimes the hatchback gives you a little bit more in terms of drivability, perhaps even in terms of the other attributes that you mentioned. So that's why I ask about the timing for your launch.
I see those two things disconnected. I see on the one hand side a clear interest in the hatchback. It's not going to suffer. There are more people coming into it, and predominantly coming into a more adult, a larger, a richer car. You see it with some of the very successful models of our competitors. They are bigger cars, they are becoming more equipped. On the other hand side, you still have that growing segment of people that want a notchback or a sedan car. And I think both things live next to each other, luckily, because the vast reservoir of first-time buyers and the equally big reservoir of upgraders in India is almost indefinite.
When you talk about that growing demand, Michael, about the customer looking for a larger, a little more premium, a better appointed product in the hatch space, isn't that again an opportunity for Volkswagen? Because globally, that's pretty much your bread and butter segment. It's what you're known for in many markets. You know the car I'm talking about, the Golf. I mean, do you see potential to at least start thinking in that direction, given what's happening in the market?
It's step by step. First, we see in the current hatchback segment where we are with the Polo, we see 15% of our people buying a GT car, which is a fairly expensive choice in that segment. That means people are willing to spend that amount of money if they can have a car which offers outstanding qualities in terms of driving, in terms of security, safety, etc. On the other hand, I'm a little bit doubtful, because if I look at the current Golf segment, so to say, it's not existent. We have to really watch a little bit what the customer is doing. Cars in that segment currently are fairly expensive cars, and they're very limited numbers. So I see still more room to grow from where we are, and then see what happens.
But that's a growth that is possible. You think that the customer is finally showing some appetite to at least be open to products like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there is one characteristic of India which is unique. That is the very small car buyer segment, which is enormous. That you don't see that much in other emerging and emerged markets. But on the other hand, you see the same development as it happened in other segments, in other markets, moving up through the segment into another segment. And over time, there will be a larger part that will move from the Polo segment into a higher segment. Maybe we'll still have to wait a few years, but it will happen.
But given this kind of graduation, and in India, you're right, I mean, sometimes the pace at which it happens does even surprise all of us. But given that kind of movement, is it okay for you not to be looking at the segment below the Polo?
It is okay for us as long as the predominant offer in that segment is, let me put it this way, very cheap cars that do not match our levels of safety and quality. As soon as this were to change, we would be seriously thinking, but we cannot offer a car like this. It's just not on our list, and it wouldn't be a Volkswagen.